Check 1, 2.
Curious about real estate? Yes! Then you've come to the right place. Get the knowledge you need, get over the fear, and get started. This is the Michael Quarles Real Estate Show with your host, Michael Quarles.
Okay, we got Michael Quarles with us today. Michael, you there?
I am absolutely here, Tom. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks again. Thank you for showing up today. And are you ready to squirm and start sharing some detailed information about an account that you wholesaled?
You know, I'm sitting in my chair and I have a pillow between me and my chair just so if I squirm too much, it's comfortable.
All right, perfect. Well, we are going to get right to it. So let's go ahead and get started just so everyone knows, because we really want to be specific here. What is the address of the property that you wholesaled?
It is 214 Moneta in Bakersfield, California. And don't drive down that street at night.
Terrific. 214 Moneta. I love it. All right, terrific. So let's get started. The first question that we want to know is, how did the motivated seller find you? So what marketing channel or what method did you use to actually get them to contact you, or you contact them?
Great question, Tom. I always want the seller to call me. I always find that if they're calling me, that there's an underlying motivation in play already, rather than me cold calling out. And, you know, on this deal, it was kind of ironic. It was a deal I did last year that I bought this year. So I guess it was July of 2013 when I recycled my list. So I pull a list every 6 months, throw the old one away, get a new one. And, you know, I'm in marketing. I'm a marketing guy, so I love it. So it was a brand new list, so they had never gotten anything from me personally. So before this call, I actually went back to all of my databases and said, have I ever touched this person? Have I said hello to them? Whatever. I had never said anything to them. I got a list. That month's or that week's cycle for what I was going to send out was our large text postcard. And this thing's like red and blue and yellow and black ink and all kinds of stuff. And this gal, she got it. And she called me. So she got one piece of mail. First time I'd ever marketed to her.
Okay.
Called me. And here's why she called me, though. The postcards, they go, we want to buy your house. We want to do this. We want to do that, whatever. But I have this saying on all my postcards: close on the day of your choice.
Absolutely.
Well,
right.
Every once in a great while, that actually means something to someone. A lot of times they look over it and they don't really care. In her case, she wanted to sell her house 6 months later.
Got it. Now, let's just pause for 1 second because we brought up a few different things. You said a list. Now, what list, when you say list, what specific list? I want to get really granular here. What list are we talking about? Where did you get it, and what were the parameters of the list?
Parameters of the list for that period of time was 2 bedrooms to 4 bedrooms. They had to have 30% equity or greater in their property.
Okay.
I had $150,000 maximum assessed value. I had to have 4-year ownership or greater. So they had to have owned the home for 4 years or greater. And single families. I never market to trusts. I don't market to LLCs, and I don't market to corps. And so when I looked at that, when I pulled that list and criteria, this was the first time I've been doing this for 30 years or so. First time in forever that I can think of that I actually pulled 2 bedrooms.
Right.
She had an itty bitty ugly 2-bedroom.
And where are you pulling that list from? Is that List Source or Listability, or do you have another?
List Source. And so I can rely on it. I love their algorithms that they use to determine equity bases, which for me is the most important thing. Without equity, I can't buy a house. So I have to know before I send someone out something that there's enough equity in the house for me to make some money. Again, the component for her was she wanted to sell her house 6 months later, but she wanted to make sure it was sold.
Now, I know, Michael, that obviously you own and operate Yellow Letters, which I'm a huge fan of. Everyone knows that who knows me. So do you have, just for the show notes here, do you actually have that postcard in case anyone wants to see it, or an example of it, or a way to reach it, or way for our listeners to get a hold of it?
Absolutely, I do. And when I sent this out to her, I wasn't sharing it. It was my, at the office, they call it Mike's postcard because it was my personal postcard. I was kind of greedy and said, no, I'm going to only use it. However, since then, that's been a year ago. It's over a year ago. And so we've actually introduced it. We call it large text postcard number 5. It it's just a friggin' workhorse. The other component, because for the call, I wanted to make sure I knew everything I could know about this opportunity. The other thing that I did on this opportunity is I added my vanity number to the postcard. And I remember the conversation that I had with her, because my vanity number is 1-800-SELL-FOR-CASH. So
okay, so now I just want to pause for 1 second here. I hope everyone heard that it's 1-800-SELL-FOR-CASH. It's the number 4.
It's the number 4. So
now, Mike, if someone wants to call up that number, an investor who's listening, just to hear the voicemail because they may want to emulate it, should they just hang up? If they call up, should they hang up so that they don't leave them, or should they leave a message and say, "Hey, I'm just an investor, just listening in"? What was the best thing to do if they actually want to hear your voicemail recording?
We actually have that phone. It's an intelligent phone system. If an investor calls that phone number, it actually shocks their headset. So it's absolutely painful for them to call that phone number.
Well, there you go, guys. Now you heard it. All right, terrific. That's great.
And the reason for that, Tom, it's live answered, and so it would cost me a bucket load of money for people to call that number. And so
okay, no, yeah. So if it's a live answer, we don't want anybody calling. Absolutely not. That would be just in the case where there's voicemail. So yeah, then no one. Yeah, I'll go ahead and actually. Do you want that number to come out on the podcast here, or
absolutely.
would you rather have?
I think it's for everybody that's listening. I think it's important. A lot of people, being a marketing guy, they always ask me. I've got this vanity number. It's like 643-725 cash. Well, that's not that's not a vanity number. That's the last 4 digits say something. But a vanity number is something that inside the entire number says something, like 1-800-WALMART, or 1-800 State Farm, or 1-800-SELL-FOR-CASH. That's a vanity number. But for this gal, what she loved about it, besides the fact that she could sell her house and have it paid for, 6 months later, that she goes, and I want to make sure it's cash. Well, all transactions are cash at some point. I'll buy it, and we'll close on the day of your choice. And 1-800-SELL-FOR-CASH. That's the hook. And
so now this is a live answer. Now, are you answering those calls yourself, Michael, or do you have somebody who does that for you?
We have someone that does that for me. We're pretty strict on what we ask the seller and how they can get through to me, because I don't want to talk to everybody.
Sure. Okay, yeah, that's just for our listeners. So there are scenarios where, and we're not going to dive deep into that today, but I just wanted to know, are you jumping on the phone with all these? Because that obviously would be a lot of work if it's all live answers. So that's that's interesting. So okay, terrific. So go ahead. She calls up. She's interested because of the when I can close date. And did you book an appointment right away and get out there, or what is the procedure at that point?
Well, what happens is we ask them a series of questions, the first 4, and they have to qualify. So, do they have a house to sell? Yes. Is it listed with a real estate professional? No. What do you think it's worth? She thought it would be worth, $60,000, $70,000. What do you want for it? She said, I was hoping to get 40.
Got it.
Well, I think at that point, I'm a great closer and a great negotiator, but there's not a lot of negotiating to be done when someone says, I want $20,000, $30,000 less than the house is worth.
Right.
I'm actually going to meet them and I buy the house, because I know the number that they tell me over the phone is the highest number that they'll sell the house for, because they don't know me, and people are tougher over the phone than they are in person. And I know how to ask someone, is that the least amount that you'll take? Can you consider yours? Can you take less? Can you help us out a little bit? If you got to ask those questions, and every time you do, and then you just shut up because you wait for the answer, they lower the price to the point where it causes us to say yes to the purchase. Without saying yes to the purchase, there's no reason to purchase it.
I love it. I love it. Terrific. So
I met her. Now, this house is so ugly, ugly wouldn't even attach itself to it. I mean, we're talking like, I looked at the front of the house. There was no reason for me to even do a lot of review because it was ugly. But I also found that people who live in ugly houses are very proud of their ugly house. It's like, not that they don't understand what pretty is. That's, for them, it's a beautiful home because that's what they can afford and that's what they can own and what have you. And so they invited me in, and boy, I didn't want to go in. So I went in, and I'm not a little guy, so I'm not like this marathon runner kind of guy, but I'm not like this huge, like 800-pound person either. I'm like an MMA heavyweight kind of body style. I look like a football player, and so I'm walking down. Well, it's only 800 square foot house, so the hallway is very short. But I go in and they want to show me the bathroom. I actually have to turn sideways to get through this like 2-foot opening that they call a bathroom door. And
Terrific.
I'm thinking, man, you're talking about some functional obsolescence here. And
Michael, I gotta just ask you, after you got off the phone, how long did it take you to actually have that meeting? So you get off the phone with okay.
I'm a firm believer that you ask the seller, you go, hey, what time today, 2 o'clock or 4 o'clock, or what time tomorrow, 10 o'clock or 2 o'clock, shall I come out and buy your house? So
I hope everyone understands that, because a sense of urgency, I think it can't be overstressed. So getting out there when you have the right seller on the phone, and I love the fact that you have those 4 questions to determine who's the right seller and who's not, but that is absolutely can't be overstated, is getting out there right away. So that's awesome. So you're at the house, and who is at the house with you? It's the wife and the husband?
I'm not sure what the organization of the couple is, but there were 2 people. One of the beautiful things about Ugly is if something like smells, and it almost like it even had that kind of stuff. I just see dollar signs, because anytime someone else doesn't want it, I know I can buy it for a pretty good price. There we go. I go in there and say, hello, thank you for inviting me out to buy your house today. I ask them if where I'm parked's okay. I always park across the street, never in front of the house, never in the driveway, never on the lawn. And they say, absolutely. And I said, great. Can you show me your home? I don't care. I don't care calling it a home. It's a home to them. It's a house to me.
Right.
So they show me this thing, which is why I had to turn sideways to get into the bathroom. Literally, the bathroom was all of a shower, a little 1.5 to 2-foot vanity with a sink, and one of the smallest things I've ever seen. And it was ugly. I mean, I'm thinking, man, I wouldn't. This is like prison had to be a better accommodation than this house kind of thing.
Great. Now, how much time do you spend? Because I want to get really granular here. How much time do you actually spend? And is that the first thing you do, is you get into the house and you kind of look around and you walk around with them?
Yeah, I think you do. I think when you're out at the house, there's only 3 things you're doing. You're one, confirming what you think you know.
Right.
You're determining what you don't know, and you're getting a contract signed. I'm there to get a contract signed, and I'm just that guerrilla investor, I guess, because I'm taking 4 copies of my contract. It's not filled out yet. I'm not going to insult the seller by making them think that I already know that they're going to sell me the house. But I have 4 copies of my contract in case I have another house to sell. I always have backup contracts. I have a couple business cards that I can give everybody in the room, because I think everybody that's there is an influence on the seller to make a decision. And so there in the kitchen table was this, like, you've seen them. They're like this aluminum table that the legs fold in and you can take the table with you kind of thing. So we set at that. We had to make some room because or stuff on it. We started, and so it says here that you were hoping to get $40,000 for your house. Is that the least you'll take?
And that's you do that right after you do the walkthrough. You sit down, and that's your first question.
Well, I already knew I was going to buy the house.
Right.
Because of the first 4 questions, and my experience. I've bought hundreds of houses, so my experience tells me, again, that the number on the phone is always the highest number. And so the house wasn't big enough to have a presentation. It's like this itty bitty thing. And I mean, everybody knew it was ugly. So it had all kinds of functional obsolescence. And, the area had some economic obsolescence. And so, yeah, I just go to the table and get out the contract. That's why I'm there. I always wonder why people wonder if they're there to buy a house, because the seller, she called me. She said, I want to sell my house in 6 months for cash.
Right.
Great. So I already knew that I was there to buy the house as long as the house qualified to me to be bought. And in order for me not to buy a house, there's only one qualification that will stop me from buying a house. Only one.
Which is?
Overvalue.
Great. I love the way you put that, overvalue. Anything
else, I mean, I don't care if it's upside down. I'm going to buy it. In fact, I bought a house that was almost upside down.
Well, that's great. So you're sitting at the table and you say, "Is that the best you can do?" And what is the response from the couple?
I'm not sure if it is a couple. So, but they always kind of stare at each other, kind of for that second, which is why
I know that's fair. I know that's fair.
You got to shut up. You can't ask a question and ask another one. You've got to like that unpleasant pause, because you want to be heard. And so they're staring at each other, and they always say, and as what she said, "What were you thinking?" And
Right.
I love the "what you're thinking" statement, because I'm thinking I'm going to buy it for less than what you want to sell it for.
Got it. Okay.
And so I let her know. I said, the 40 number does not work for me. How much better could you do?
Right.
And she lowered her value. And so when she lowered her value to a price that I could afford to buy it at, I bought it. We got her she got herself. So I think it's extremely important never to make a seller an offer. I never make the seller an offer. They
Beautiful.
always make me the offer. Because if I make a seller an offer, I can never go down.
Right.
I mean, my job is not to throw out numbers, because as soon as I throw out the number, they go, okay, we're going to think about it now. Well, you asked me what number I wanted to spend, and now you're going to think about it. Well, rather than doing that, I always ask them, what's the least you'll take? Can you see yourself doing better? After everything we've gone through today, I have to get up and go give your money to somebody else.
Right.
After this appointment, I have another one to buy another house, and I'd hate to have you call me back tomorrow and say, Mike, I'm ready to go ahead and sign the contract, and I have to tell you, well, I bought another house with your money.
Right.
So you have to have those kinds of conversations. And so when she got herself to 30, I was done. I said, okay, let me go over the agreement we're going to use today. And my agreement's 9 pages long, and inside of it says, I'm going to put a for sale sign in your front yard tomorrow. I'm going to put a flyer box of that for sale sign. I am going to put it in the multiple listing service, and I'm going to sell it for a huge amount of profit. It says huge, and huge is huge. It's bigger than anything else on the page. I'm a real estate broker. I don't have agency relationship with you. If you back out of this agreement, you have to give me $50,000 or 25% of the purchase price, whichever is greater. I have all these things that keep the seller in the game, because sellers will go sideways real fast.
Right.
I'm not the only investor in the world. There's another guerrilla investor out there who probably thinks maybe I had a yellow pad contract. They didn't realize I had a guerrilla contract, which keeps the seller in the game. And so we signed the agreement. I said, here's what we need to do tomorrow at 10 o'clock. I've already set it up with escrow. We're going to meet with Chicago Title, and at 10 o'clock, we're going to open up escrow, which I always have the sellers meet the escrow officer. I want them to know it's real. But the more important thing is, and I need you to bring your driver's licenses with you or ID with you that's current, because we're going to sign a document that's called a memorandum of contract. It's basically a document that tells the world you're selling me the house.
Got it.
Because I always know that getting a memorandum of contract in the beginning is much easier than getting it after the seller wants to back out of the agreement.
Sure. And just to pause here, you're giving us so much good information by actually reviewing an account. There's so many things that just to highlight, I hope everyone's really paying attention. You may have to listen to this podcast twice or three times, but just again to review, when you are in the negotiation and you ask for that lower number, shut up.
Well,
just shut up. Yeah.
You have to. Well, it's kind of like I asked you to dance, and then I say, yeah, but maybe you don't want to. Well, maybe I'll let the person answer the question.
Absolutely. So, and then, actually signing the memorandum, that's another, I hope everyone again is paying attention to this, because there are some really, really just years of experience that are coming through on these. So that is fantastic. Now I do have to ask you, during this presentation or during this meeting with the seller or sellers, did you have any objections? Did you have any questions that they were worried about that you had to overcome?
No, you know what? I never allow the seller to have an objection. And here's why. I always tell them the answers to their objections, their thinking, when I talk to them. So I say things like, I knock on the door. Thank you for inviting me out to buy your house today. Is where I'm parked okay? Can you show me your home? We walked through the home. It didn't take so long in this case. I said, one of the nice things about selling me the house is I'm going to pay those things that are normal for the seller to pay, like commissions, transfer taxes, all the closing costs. I'm going to buy it in as-is condition. And man,
right.
We're not going to have a home inspection done. I don't know if you've had one done, but they write like a 3-inch book about how bad your house is. And one of the beautiful things about my program is when I agree today, and when you agree, which we're going to sell me your house and me to buy it, you can consider your house sold. Not only sold, here's the important part, sold to somebody who can actually afford to buy it, because I, like yourself, I sell houses too. And there's nothing more frustrating than to get into escrow, get almost ready to close, and to come to find out that the buyer can't qualify for the loan, or the house doesn't qualify for the new lender, or something that causes it to fall out of escrow, and now all of your stuff's in boxes. It's just not going to happen. And the really cool thing is, you can close on the day of your choice. And you said on the phone you wanted to close 6 months from now. All this stuff works in your favor. So all we simply have to do now is simply sign the agreement. And we've already agreed right now to $30,000. Probably more than I wanted to spend. I remember saying that to her, but I'll take it.
I love that. Right. I love
Because
that. Okay.
if you don't tell a seller what's in it for them, they can't tell their friend who calls them stupid for selling their house at 50 cents on the dollar why they're not stupid. Because what's going to happen is I'm going to leave. I'm going to have my contract signed. They're going to have a copy of it. We're going to meet down in the escrow. They're going to call someone and say, hey, I sold my house. And they go, what'd you sell it for? I sold it for $30,000. And the gal's going to go, are you flipping crazy? I would have gave you 40. Oh, no, but you don't understand. He's doing this. He's doing that. He's doing this. We don't even have to move out for 6 months.
Yeah, I hope. Yeah, this is so key. This is so key, guys, because I will tell you what, giving the seller ammunition in that scenario is so critical. And I always emphasize that on all of my calls at the tail end. I just say, hey, again, I'm going to pay all cash. I can close immediately. You can move out when you want to. I pay all the closing costs, and the reason I do that is exactly for what you're talking about, which is I don't get that call back 3 hours after I spend that meeting locking the deal up, and I don't get some uncle who knows about real estate who said, oh, no, you paid, you didn't get enough for the property. So I agree with you 110% on this.
Yeah, I think it's an important thing that we do, or we should do, and it's all about how we look at ourselves, how we feel about, are we confident? Can we fall forward? Can we meet the commitments that we've just laid out for these folks? Have I done it before? Or if I haven't, am I certain I can do it now? And assuming that we have confidence, they want to sell a house. If this would have been my first deal, my very first deal, never bought a house before in my life, never even saw an ugly house until this one, I would still have more knowledge, more ammunition, more ability than this seller would ever have, because they're not a real estate professional. They didn't research it. They didn't read about it. They didn't get trained to do it. All they have is a house they don't want. Think about not wanting something. You put a sign up that says garage sale. That thing that you wanted at one point in your life, you sell it for a quarter. Well, that's what we do. We buy those things from the garage sale for a quarter because people don't want them. But our mind it's wrapped around, but why would anybody sell it for a quarter if it's worth $1? Well, because they don't want it.
I love it. You know what I say is you be a deal finder in this business. Don't be a deal creator. And I always say, we're running a pawn shop for houses. This is not a real estate business. So I agree. So let's get back on track here to the actual deal. So you sign the memorandum. They meet with the title agent. Now you've got to find a buyer for the property. It sounds like you put the deal on MLS.
Yeah, and here's where this story takes a twist.
Okay.
This takes this. I have 6 months to buy this thing, right?
Right.
And I'm doing my life. My life's getting in the way, and I put in my backyard. I'm crazy. I put this Hollywood backyard in my Bakersfield house.
Okay.
And
well, we got to hear a little bit about it. What did you put in the backyard?
Well, I've got everything. If you walk into my backyard, you'll think you're in like some tropical island. I have probably 40 palm trees. I've got this walk-in pool. I've got this gazebo. I've got a hot tub for 12 people. Why you would want 12 people in a hot tub, I have no clue. I've got everything in this backyard.
I hope there's a sign somewhere that says real estate investing paid for this.
Well, that's on my license plate of my Mercedes. So I think we should reward ourselves when we work hard and work smart. And those rewards come from the nice things and the luxury things that you can have in life. And, there was a day I didn't have a nice backyard, and there was a day I didn't drive a Mercedes, and there was a day that I didn't have a beautiful home. And, I wrote down my goals, and I said, how do I achieve them? And failed at some of them. And I said, well, why didn't I succeed? And I learned, and I fell forward, and here I am. So anyway, life was just getting in my way. I had 6 months to close this deal. I was closing other deals, and I had this customer. It was an old mentoring student of mine. This old mentoring student of mine, not old like he's old like former. And
okay,
he's from another city. It's like 3 hours away. And he just calls me one day. It's Mike. I go, yeah, hey, how are you doing? And he says, yeah, I'm doing fine. Do you have any deals I can buy? Well, I'm
Okay.
not a deal seller. It's not what I do. I mean, I get it. I understand all that stuff, but I don't sell deals. But he called me deal, and I thought, well, what do I have? What do I got out there? I just don't sell stuff. It was like he was like calling me and saying, I want to borrow your fiance for a year. It didn't make any sense to me.
Okay. And he's
I-
looking for himself, or is he looking as an investor, or how
Well,
is he looking?
I'm thinking he's looking for himself. I believe in abundance and prosperity.
Absolutely.
I do not believe just because I have it and someone else doesn't that they shouldn't have it. And because I know that it's just a deal, I'll go get another one. It's not like for me to get a deal and for him to get a deal, there's such a paradigm shift difference because, I'm blowing out the marketing, I've got the systems in place, and he's wanting to do a deal. I mean, that's really important to him. Well, it's not so important to me. I mean, I'll just do another deal. I say, well, I have this house over here. He goes, well, what do you want for it? And I thought to myself, I don't have any idea. I don't sell deals. I mean, I should have called you. You would have probably like schooled me on how to sell this deal. And he said, well, give me $5,000 for it, I guess.
Great. Great.
He
I
goes,
love it.
he goes, really? And I thought, man, I feel good because I just gave him excitement. For me, it's no big deal. But he goes, really? And I go, yeah. And he goes,
That's awesome.
where do I send the money? I said,
That's great.
slow down, cowboy. You understand?
Right.
A couple more months, you can close the thing. It was just odd. So here I am. We're getting up to the close, and there's the 6-month wait period for this homeowner. She's excited now because we're like 2 weeks away from closing. So she starts calling. I'm ready. And then I'm thinking to myself, well, I'm not buying your house anymore. But I'm obligated to buy the house. So even if this investor, who I absolutely knew could perform, even if he couldn't perform, let's say, for instance, he got in a car accident and something happened in his life and he just couldn't perform anymore, I would step in and buy this house. I am not going to put a house under contract with someone and and give them this security that life is going to happen for them and they can do all those things and let it go south. So, I'm texting and I'm calling him and I said, so I finally, here's the magic that just gave me such peace. I said to him, can you just talk to her? Here's her phone number. Here's the contract I signed with her. I don't care what you guys negotiate right now. It was like such relief from me. I didn't have to worry about what my potential profit was or any of that stuff. It didn't matter. He contacted her and then he sold the assignment to somebody else. And
so he reflipped it again.
yeah, and that kind of hurt my feelings. But then again, I had to go back to my prosperity and abundance perspective. He just had the same mind frame. He goes, yeah. So he made less than I made.
Okay,
but
so let's talk about that. So you made how much on the deal? $5,000.
I made $5,000.
That is fantastic.
No, it's the least amount of money I've ever made on a real estate transaction. I'm sorry. It was like.
Well, it's still it's funny because the deals are out there, and I think that's sometimes for the newbies they say, well, you asked a great question before, why would somebody? And the answer to the question is I love the example that you gave, which is it's like a garage sale. I remember even as a kid I wanted a Game Boy or whatever it was so badly, and then or an Atari, and then the next thing would come out and it was a Sega Genesis or whatever it was, and man, that thing, it wasn't even worth a quarter to me anymore. So I had my reasons for selling something that was worth more for less, and I think that's whatever it is, whether it's job loss or job relocation, or they're headed off to boot camp and they want to sell a home before they leave, or whatever the motivation is, there are people out there who want to sell their property for a discounted rate, and there are wholesalers out there hopefully who are going to lock those deals up. So that's what we want people to hear. So that's awesome.
The key component is she knew that she was selling it for less than value, because we asked her, what do you think it's worth? She said $60,000 or $70,000. She was right. It was worth $60,000 or $70,000. And then how much do you want for it? I can remember the time, and it's another deal, and I'm only going to say this one itty bitty thing. What do you think it's worth? My neighbor's on the market at $174,000. What were you hoping to get out of your house? Really? So it's not hard. It's not hard to get a contract when they say, I want $15,000 and my neighbor's on the market at $174,000.
Right. And I think actually it's not hard to get a contract if you believe that the contracts are out there. I think that sometimes, and you and I spoke about this before, is that sometimes people think that there's some particular set of skills that you or I have or some other wholesalers have. And the truth of the matter is that those people are out there. You just have to know how to find them. And that's why we really get specific about what list you sent to and what card you sent them. So I will put that in the show notes for other people. And, especially those 4 questions, guys, key, because that is really going to be how you identify who you're talking to on the phone.
Everybody that we market to should be a prospect. I mean, we shouldn't be marketing to oranges, but wanting to buy apples. So we should only be marketing to apples. Some of those apples are ready to fall off the tree. Some of them are just now, budding out and growing into apples. And there's a lot in between. And some of those in between apples, they call us because they know they're about 4 months from falling off the tree. They call us just to get over the fear of calling a stranger, trying to figure out what this is all about, all those things, but they're not motivated. So when you ask them, do you have a house you're hoping to sell? And they say, well, not right now. And you go, can you do me a favor? And they go, sure. I said, well, when you're ready, can you call me back and I'll absolutely make an appointment to buy your house? Oh, okay. And in the meantime, if you know anybody that's looking to buy or sell a house, can you let them know about me and refer them to me? I sure will. Thank you very much. So I'm going to be nice to people and get them off the phone. I'm not going to continue to talk to the apple that's not ready to pick because they're going to call me back. I'm going to send them another couple pieces of mail. I mean, they're going to hear from me again. And they're an apple. They're what I want. And so
yeah, I think that's key because, that's why you don't offer the price because, if you prematurely softball a prospect with a number, the problem is that apple, you may not get another chance to go back and pick it. So what we always do is I happen to agree with you. We let them tell us what they are looking to do, and then we try to create a service around that. And if you think, if you prematurely, if you have an apple that's maybe 3 or 4 months away and you give them some number that is not really where they're at, you could ruin that relationship. So I always encourage my guys, keep coming back to me because we could figure something out. I'm here to help. And if you want to move out on the date you want to move out, or if you need cash right now, call me up and let's see if we could figure something out. So
absolutely,
all good points. So, I just want to let everyone know, what I tell all of my students and everybody I meet is, you can wholesale without yellow letters, but why would you want to? So I just want to let you know, I am a huge fan of yours and your service. I was on the phone with Norma, I'm sure, I know I was yesterday, and I'm going to be calling her. Actually, we're doing another mailing today, so I'm going to call her before you guys close up. And just so this is time sensitive because we're talking about deals, the deal you did was in 2013 then?
We got it under contract in 2013 and we closed it in 2014. So it was actually a 6-month escrow. I got to help the seller out because that's what she wanted. She got what she needed. She got what she wanted on the day she wanted it. And I helped a former mentoring student out do a deal.
So much information today. It's really, I hope everybody can pick out the important parts here. That's great. We appreciate it, Michael. Thank you very much for your time today.
Thanks for listening to the Michael Quarles Real Estate Show. Get more info and stay in touch at michaelquarles.com.